All right, let's talk about some new information regarding the Golden Dome, which was, I did a video about this a couple of days ago, and that actually received a heck of a lot of interest, mainly because, just because President Trump suggests something does not always mean he's wrong. His batting average hasn't been fantastic lately, but this one might be a double. All right, we might actually get on second base with this one because the tech actually exists to do this right now. And this is one of those things which is within reach for the United States. It's not pie in the sky like it was back in the 1980s when Reagan proposed the Star Wars program. Before I get started, you might notice that my background's a little bit different. I'm down at Virginia Beach right now. I was kind of hoping I'm going to have a little vacation this week, not do any videos. Nope, doesn't work like that. This Golden Dome thing popped up. But hey, some good beach reading for you guys. The Wind Machine, available on Amazon right now. The Last Republic, also available on Amazon. Wind Machine is available on Audible right now. All right, let's talk about this Golden Dome thing. And I'm going to do this a little bit differently, mainly because I'm going to try the whole Preston Stewart style of freestyling it, right? While I read you the news. I don't know, it seems to have worked for him. But I need to get this done because I have a couple of things to do, including a golf fitting. Yeah, this girl is paying for me to go get fitted for golf clubs. Doesn't mean I'm going to buy them, but I'm going to give this golf fitting thing a shot. All right, so the president's Golden Dome plan has riled three countries whose weapons technology poses the greatest threat to American territory: China, Russia, and North Korea, claiming the missile defense project is driving dangerous new arms race. And they're not wrong about that. I mean, one of the things that I talked about in my first video on this particular subject, this is one of those things that could actually cause a launch of nuclear weapons. If you take a look at the book War Day was a novel about the United States launching the first of their Star Wars defense systems and Russia responding by just nuking the U.S. With a limited strike because they felt like, this is our last chance to do it. So in some ways, yes, it could actually increase tensions between the United States and these three countries, but there's also the risk of not doing it, which I'm going to kind of go over here. So the Chinese, the Russians, and the North Koreans are all developing new weapons to evade U.S. defenses and combat America in outer space. North Korea slammed the Golden Dome as the largest arms buildup in history. It's really not, but North Korea, what else is North Korea going to say? And another interesting thing is that all three countries have denounced Trump's call for space-based interceptors, saying they risk turning space into a battlefield. Now, the truth of the matter is that space is already a battlefield. Space is one of the domains. China is already practicing maneuvering inside space, literally dogfighting in space, and just because some people, just because they're saying it's wrong doesn't mean they're not doing it themselves, right? And I can tell you this, that some people have called the Golden Dome to be a mirage, a mirage missile defense, which, of course, this guy who works for the United Nations Institute for Disarmament Research, I mean, look, if you work for the United Nations Institute for Disarmament Research, what else are you going to say, right? You're going to say, this is going to escalate. I mean, you work for the United Nations Agency for Disarmament Research. You're not going to say, wow, this is a great idea, right? So just because someone from the United Nations Institute of Disarmament Research is saying something doesn't mean it's necessarily true either. They do have a political motive for this system not being employed. But yes, this talks about China's dogfighting maneuvers in space, which is a thing. These high-speed combat-oriented operations in orbit serve as further evidence that Beijing is planning to actively challenge the U.S. and our allies in space. That is 100% true. When China invades Taiwan, there will not only be information warfare directed against the people of the United States, there will be satellite warfare directed against American satellites. This is one of the reasons we implemented the Space Force. The United States needs a Space Force because we need to have an organization that is there to protect the ultimate high ground. And also encourage responsible use of space. So this also talks about how one major concern for U.S. defense is hypersonic weapons, which are traditionally known as weapons that can fly faster than the speed of 5 times faster than the speed of sound. Look, ever since the German V2 program, when they were developing rockets, they were hypersonic, right? So hypersonic weapons are nothing new. The real concern is hypersonic glide vehicles, which can turn and can maneuver. That makes them a little bit harder to intercept, especially if you're firing at the oblique, where, if you're right here and the missile is coming toward you, maybe doing a little maneuvering, it's actually a little bit easier to intercept that missile because the missile's coming straight at you. It's a straight-on shot. If the missile is going to the oblique and you're trying to catch up with it, that's a little bit harder, right? You're going to have to go faster than the missile. And whenever you're trying to catch up to something, it's a little bit harder to do. So a hypersonic weapon can either be easy to destroy or hard to destroy depending on which direction you're coming from. Now, what's kind of interesting here is that when President Vladimir Putin introduced Russia's first hypersonic, meaning hypersonic glide vehicles, in 2018, there's an animated graphic which showed the missile head toward the west coast of the U.S. He said missile defense systems are useless against them, absolutely pointless. And that's something you say on the tin, right? That's something you say to sell hypersonic missiles. Defenses against them are not useless, but imagine Putin lying, right? Like that's kind of what they do by default. It's to scare people like the Wall Street Journal into publishing words like that. But to Wall Street Journal's credit, they actually say Russia's hypersonic weapons could potentially be stopped by a system like the Golden Dome because they travel at slower speeds during initial launch and before hitting their target. So I've said this before, that if you're launching a hypersonic weapon and you're looking for actual precision and where you're going to hit your target, especially if it's a naval target, you need to slow down before you get into your terminal phase. Because as you're traveling hypersonic, this shock cone or this cone of plasma builds up on the nose of your missile, and you can't see through that. At this point, you're being guided by either inertial guidance or satellite guidance, right? But satellite guidance can't get you close to a moving ship. Now, satellite guidance could get you close to a terrestrial bunker or something like that. But also don't forget that at the same time, a hypersonic missile is just a fancy way of delivering a 1,000-pound nuclear warhead someplace else. Right, so you're kind of limited as to the amount of warhead that you can bring along with you in that hypersonic missile. But when it comes to like hitting a Navy ship, you have to slow down a little bit as you enter the terminal phase because you have to activate your own onboard sensors, either radar or visual or thermal, in order to make sure, okay, yes, that's the aircraft carrier I want to hit. We know how to shoot down supersonic missiles. We know how to shoot down subsonic missiles. So let's keep going here. Now, this actually says intercepting Russia's strategic intercontinental ballistic missiles could be much harder. After the first stage launch, when a rocket pushed the missile up into the atmosphere, interceptors would have to be very close to respond in time. That would mean covering territory across all of Russia's 11 time zones to intercept the missile in time. All right, so here's what that means. Imagine this is the globe, all right? And Behoove right here, which you can buy on bunkerbranding.com. Behoove is the state of Russia, right? The country of Russia. So you have a satellite coming over. Satellites orbit every 90 minutes or so, right? And as the satellite is orbiting, the world is turning, right? So this means that as the world is turning and the satellite is orbiting, you need multiple satellites because this is going over the horizon. And it's leaving the country of Russia, going over the horizon as the world is turning, as the satellite is orbiting. So you constantly have to have satellites in orbit around the Earth. So at any given time, you have one satellite over wherever Russia might launch a ballistic missile from. So that means you need more than one satellite in your constellation of satellites that can intercept incoming Russian missiles. That's not that hard to do. We can do that. It just takes the money and the will to do so. Now, this also talks about how the United States has installed ground-based interceptors in Alaska and California in the early 2000s. houses a ground-based mid-course defense system. You can actually read a lot about that at Northrop Grumman. The system has about a 50% success rate, and we only have 44 interceptors. We have 4 in California, and we have 40 in Alaska. It was basically built for rogue nation, rogue submarine, North Korea type thing, to intercept those ballistic missiles when fired from a submarine. Problem with intercepting in the terminal phase is that, once the warhead opens up, you could have multiple incoming ballistic or multiple incoming warheads, and you could have decoys. So which one do you hit, right? You don't really know. Intercepting in the boost phase is a lot easier. But really the only way we can do that is if we have a destroyer or a cruiser floating offshore, and we have a satellite-based weapon system, either a laser, railgun, or whatever tech that they've developed for this system. This actually says, yes, intercontinental ballistic missiles have been shot down by Navy destroyers against Iranian weapons targeting Israel this year. We have the tech, the SM-6 missile specifically. And this also talks about how Trump wants to see the Golden Dome placed in in less than 3 years, which would be difficult to accomplish. We're not implementing this in less than 3 years. It's just not going to happen. We don't have the industrial capacity. We can build, I think maybe it takes about 12 to 24 months to source and build just one Patriot radar system. So I don't really see the United States implementing 37 new THAAD systems to cover all of the U.S. It's just extremely difficult to do. It would take a very long time to implement it. Unless we put like some sort of crash course effort into hiring people and gathering all the materials we need to build these radars. So again, the same guy, Podvik from the United Nations Peace Fund or whatever, says that 85, any defense missile shield would likely only offer protection from 85% of incoming missiles, which could promote a false sense of security. That's the same thing I talked about when I mentioned the Iron Dome system in Israel, in a way provided a false sense of security to Israelis, where the Israelis said, oh, you know what, let the Palestinians launch their rockets, we don't care, we'll shoot them down. That worked until it didn't. That worked until the Palestinians used ultralights to glide into Israel and cause chaos on October 7th. So that is a concern that something like that could happen, but I would rather have that missile defense system than not. To defend against Russia or China with many more warheads, such a system would potentially require thousands of satellites. This might be where Starlink comes in. They've already launched hundreds or perhaps thousands of space-based satellites, which can grab internet, for people in remote areas. So it's not that much of a jump to go from launching thousands of internet satellites to launching thousands of interceptors. So this might be why President Trump and Elon Musk became such bros for a while, right? Musk is kind of whispering into the Donald's ear, saying like, "Oh yeah, we need to launch a bunch of satellites, right? Thousands. It'll defend America." Mm-hmm. So that was most likely one of the things that Elon was doing as he was kind of courting President Trump here. This also talks about China rapidly building its own nuclear forces. It's built some 350 missile silos. I believe they have around it says right here, 7,000 launchers, land-based missiles. They also have nuclear submarines like the Type 94, which are being equipped with long-range ballistic missiles. There's a Type 96 that's developed to run quieter than its predecessor, and whenever you put a missile on a ballistic missile submarine, it makes it very difficult to detect until they actually launch. So, couple of takeaways from this. Just because President Trump suggested something doesn't mean it's bad, right? He's had some whoppers, he's had some bad ideas, but I actually don't think this is one of those bad ideas. It is something that we can implement. Maybe not to the full extent in 3 years, but it's something that we can implement relatively quickly. Maybe get a few interceptors in California. And, things like this, someone proposes a plan, it might get started and then it kind of putters out. That could always happen as well. The one big advantage that we have in our pocket here is that the United States does have SpaceX as a company, and it is well within SpaceX's capability to launch interceptor satellites into space. Although I think that 3 years to develop an interceptor satellite is a very optimistic view of the situation. But we can absolutely 100% create THAAD batteries that would defend big cities, Los Angeles, San Francisco, San Diego. We could do that right now. We just need to build them, and that takes at least 1 to 2 years. All right, I have to go to a golf fitting. I can't even believe I said that. One more thing. Hey, Wind Machine, Last Republic, buy them. They're great summer readings when you're sitting on the beach. I'm trying to do what Clancy used to do and give you guys a good beach read. Thank you guys so much for watching. And don't forget to head on over to Bunker Branding, where you can actually get Wind Machine and Last Republic signed copies. All right. Thank you guys for watching. I got to go golfing.
Wow, this girl from Watertown sure is cool. Hey kid, what's going on? Think tank! You know, a girl from Watertown is kind of like riding a moped. It's lots of fun till your friends see you on one. What's really cool is a t-shirt or hoodie from Bunker Branding. Wow! Intel Life! Control-C, Control-V! That's exactly what we do! And Bunker Branding has all sorts of cool gear. Intel Life, Aerosol, Live, Laugh, Launch for Destroyer, Trident, HIMARS, and Patriot. Think outside the bomb. Drone Suite Drone, Department of the Boat People, landmines, and even the tow missile. It would behoove you to grab one today. Girls from Watertown aren't cool, so wear your Bunker Branding gear. Now I know. And knowing's half the battle. Hey babe, you wanna dance? Bunker Branding!